Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another fun-filled night here on Spirit Connections. How's everyone doing? See? I have one viewer. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. This is going to be the last show starting at 8 p.m. So I'm so excited because starting September 4th, which is the Tuesday right after Labor Day, we're going to be starting nice and early at 7 p.m. So you guys can watch your prime time and enjoy without having to miss Spirit Connections, because I know it's such a toss-up here all the time. So I figured what better way than to accommodate you, the viewer. So I'm really excited. Aren't you excited, Steph?
I am excited.
Me too. I can't wait. After working all day and then coming here and, you know, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice.
Well, it's nicer for everybody else that likes to get into bed early because they work early, or, I mean, American Idol season's coming up, so I know
January.
The Voice, everything, it all comes on at the same time, so we can.
I can't wait.
We can be before.
Yeah.
Which is nice. People can switch from their computer to their TV and be all set.
Exactly. And I'm noticing more and more guests are actually really excited. Meanwhile, Luann's like, oh, I should have waited until after September to come on.
Oh, I gotta be here till 9.
All right. But hey, at least I didn't have you on last year. We were doing 9 to 10.
9 to 10. That was
awful. Well, I mean, we were doing it out of my house, so it wasn't like I was in my pajamas most of the time, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, but by the time I got home, I know it was like midnight or later. Because, you know, Tiffany likes to talk. But
exactly. There's always after the show convo.
Right.
Like, wait, I meant to ask you this, but I didn't want to bring it up on air, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I'm really excited.
It's good. Everything's evolving, all for the better, so.
I know.
7 p.m. it is, and hopefully it makes it a little bit easier for guests to come on, too. So that way, you know, people with kids and stuff, they don't miss too much time.
Exactly. So, I also wanted to mention that before we start the show. Luann's out.
We're having microphone difficulties.
Okay.
It's fine. There you go.
There we go.
Okay, we're fine. We're up and running now. Okay.
Yep.
Now it's
just kidding. Nothing
FCC
happened.
certified. Everything's fine now. But I do want to mention for all of you guys up in the Pembroke area, at my office at 55 Corporate Park Drive, I'm going to be teaching a guided meditation class Wednesday, September 12th from 6 to 8. I only have a few spots left, so I'm going to be going over basically how to just calm your mind and help you get back to basics. I'm going to be walking you through a few guided meditations. I'm also going to be giving you each your own personal chakra alignment and describing to you exactly what that is and the feelings that I'm getting and what needs to be cleared and what doesn't. So there are only a couple spaces open for that. So if you guys want to go to my website, tiffanyrice.com, or you can email me at tiffcat3@gmail.com to reserve your spot. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I know I posted it on my Spirit Medium Tiffany page and then also on tiffanyrice.com. But you can check that out, and there's some more events coming up. So definitely go to tiffanyrice.com. I think I just said that 20 times.
You did.
Yeah,
Do
I did.
Want
tiffanyrice.com. It should just be actually throughout the whole show. You can just have it going around and the screen. Okay, back to why we're having a show tonight. I have Miss Luann Joly on. How are you?
Good.
Did I pronounce that correctly? Your last name?
Did.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because it's always embarrassing because I've done it before where I've mispronounced someone's name and we go throughout almost the whole show and then finally they correct me and I feel like a donkey. But
Oh, no, you did great.
now,
What does that
Luann,
feel like?
oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
What does that feel like?
I know. What does that feel like? Well, I'm just using it to be polite, a donkey. But I wanted to have Luann on because you just finished a book. You're an author of a book called Dead Whispers.
I did.
So I want to talk about this because I think that what you have to offer is great to enlighten people because you said that you have felt throughout growing up you've kind of harnessed your psychic abilities, correct? Or should I say intuitive side a little bit?
Well, at least I've gotten more comfortable with them, I would
With
say. Not
understanding
that
it?
I have much control over them or anything, but it was much more frightening to have those things happen to you as a child and have no outlet, which nowadays is great. Kids actually can go online and find people that, can help them. Back in my day, of course, which we won't get to how far back that was, there really wasn't an outlet for kids going through that, and a lot of us kept it secret. And the funny thing about it is, people that I knew growing up were having, paranormal problems, psychic problems, and never told anyone either.
Isn't it funny how we all just come out of the closet like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
We get to we go to some certain old antique store, and all of a sudden everybody just starts talking, and then everybody has an experiment, whether it's a experience, I should say, with something paranormal or something enlightening. So now your book, Dead Whispers, how long did it take you? I want to know what made you decide to put all of your thoughts and your experiences into play and write this book, and how long did it actually take you to actually get to a point where I don't know if you were contacted or if you actually contacted, is it by Schiffer? It is Schiffer?
Yeah.
Okay, so the book is Dead Whispers is put out by Schiffer. So just explain to me the process.
Went into it. I'm actually working on quite a few other fictions.
Oh, great. But this is not fiction, correct?
No, this is
Okay.
nonfiction. As I was doing that, I was looking at the market, and it's kind of tough to get into fiction. You almost have to have done something else. And at the same time, I was feeling really proud of my team. I've got a great group of girls, and I almost felt like
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
That's
you
okay.
had mentioned that you have a team, a
Yep.
paranormal team. What's your team name?
That's Whaling City Ghosts.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right, so I've seen you visit Spooky South Coast quite often.
Yes, we
With
have.
Tim and Matt.
Yep, great people.
Excellent. Okay,
Yep.
so sorry, go on. I just wanted to
That's
let you
okay.
guys know.
So I've over the years we've recorded some really excellent EVPs, and we get a little more personal with our ghosts. We have some homes that are haunted, and they have an ongoing haunt, and they're just very active, and we're allowed to keep going into these homes. And some of these ghosts because we've got a new researcher, Debbie White-Piver. I don't know if you know her. She's a great girl, but she is just great at what she does. So you took me off of researching, which, I can research, but she is just incredible. And some of our ghosts we've actually been able to name and find out what their stories are. One of the ones that really touched our heart terribly that is told about in the book is about Sarah Marie Cornell. And she was actually a mill worker in Fall River. And I personally, now that I've read more, which it's kind of a shame you don't have the whole story
Right,
in Dead
right.
Whispers. I have most of the story, but from what I found out looking into it more, we just couldn't leave this whole Sarah Cornell thing alone. I really think she was a girl who was just so terribly wronged. This is the mid-1800s. She's a woman with really no family. Her dad left, so it's just an elderly mom and sisters and brothers
Right.
that she has. So she's going from mill to mill, trying just to make ends meet, trying to have a place to live. And one thing a lot of people don't probably understand about the mill workers is they moved a lot. You didn't settle in and you had a mill down the street and you got to work there constantly until you died. You may move to a place and, there's drought. So the rivers aren't turning the wheels. So that mill closes down, and somewhere else where they have rain, there's water and there's mill work again. So they were here, there, and all over.
So how did it come about that you were able to identify with the spirit of Sarah Marie Cornell?
Well, this was almost like a mystery to us.
Okay.
We had investigated a mill building out in Fall River, and they do wish to remain undisclosed, so I can't actually say the mill building. But we recorded these horrible screams in the recordings. And we were actually, all of us were standing there discussing where we're going to set up our equipment. This is a big building. And behind us, over us, I mean, so loud that I actually had to de-amplify, which, usually with EVP you try to make it a little louder so people can understand. These screams were so loud they actually distorted. So I had to actually bring them down a bit to be able to hear them. And then at the very end, there's a male voice, and he says, "Who are you? Leave."
No.
And it was like, who is this? And then finding out the true story of Sarah, we pretty much believe she was dragged and beat to her death.
Now, how were you able to identify
People
that it
were
was Sarah?
reporting screams that were
Okay.
heard when she was murdered, the night that she was
Okay,
murdered,
that's-
for about an hour and 45 minutes. So you're talking a lot of abuse before.
Right.
She was actually hung in Kennedy Park. It, at the time, was the Durfee Farm.
Okay.
It's present-day Kennedy Park. And the funny thing is now that when I drive by Kennedy Park, it's Sarah
Right.
that you feel. They actually claim that she was a suicide. They found her hanging by what's called a stack pole.
Okay.
They put those around like the haystacks to keep
Okay.
them there. And the funny thing about it is they ruled it a suicide, and this girl, her knees were touching the ground.
Right, they didn't go further
Right,
into the...
you know,
the
it was
story.
actually when the ladies of the city were preparing her for burial, and they were like, wait a minute, you know, her arm's broken, and there's scrapes all over her, and they found her broken hair comb in her hair, and they're like, this wasn't suicide. And
Right.
it got around enough that they did actually exhume her body.
Oh,
and
wow.
they did try the Reverend, and he got off.
Now, have you ever tried to do a EVP session? And for those of you at home who don't know what an EVP is, it's an electronic voice phenomena, which a lot of times when you have groups like Whaling City Ghosts go to a location, they'll bring a digital voice recorder or a video camera or any kind of recording device to pick up a frequency that a lot of times entities will use that are it's a much higher frequency than what you and I can hear. So were you able to find these EVPs after the fact or same time?
It was actually after the
After
fact.
the fact?
This was going back to 2007, that
Okay.
particular EVP. And the recorders that I was using at the time aren't as advanced
Right,
as the
right.
ones that we have now are.
Now, were you able to hold, say, an EVP session or even maybe bring a medium out there to see if you could get any more validations
Actually
besides
am
just
planning
screamings?
that.
Yeah.
We did go back again initially, and the building kind of went up for sale. So
So it
we're
was-
actually waiting for the new owners to take over, and
Okay.
we're hoping they'll be open with it.
Right.
You know, these owners were like fascinated with the evidence from their building. They, you know, I can't say I
Wow.
blame them. I caught a full-bodied apparition in that building. You know, so
I'm
it's
still waiting
funny
to see what
because
one of
there's
those looks like.
so much history around here that people
Mhm.
don't realize, and even the history that you do know, when you start taking it apart, there's even more to
Right.
it. You know, and looking at that particular area of Fall River, you're looking at an area that there's underground water.
Mhm.
There's probably an Indian burial ground over there because there's a really strange burial, like 2 blocks behind Lizzie Borden's house.
Mhm.
You know, so are all of these factors that make this little area
Possibly.
so haunted related? We look at that a lot, you know.
Possibly, I know. I just find it so fascinating.
There's just so much in the paranormal, because the paranormal isn't just, to me, not just ghosts, entities, that kind of thing. It is the psychic skills
Right.
and the factors that make these things possible. And
Exactly.
I really don't think we have the science for it, like, quite yet. And that's why it's so hard to actually prove to anyone, because we're using science that just isn't quite there yet, in my eyes.
We're getting
at
there.
least.
We're getting there.
We're
There's
getting
so many.
there,
There's so many
slowly
more.
but surely.
Exactly. So now, this was one particular chapter in your book that really touched your heart.
Oh, definitely.
Now, do you feel like you have a connection with all these chapters in your book? Or actually, are all the chapters in your book related to a particular investigation that you went on? Or do you actually talk about personal experiences of your own?
Most of the chapters are places, locations that we
Okay.
investigated. There's Salem, Lizzie Borden's house, of course. You can't get away from her around here. Profile Rock, which is actually part of the Freetown State Forest. Geez, what else is in the book? And actually, my house is included in the book. It's the chapter called Luann's Home for the Wandering Dead. Because
Well, tell me about that.
Well, I can't seem to live anywhere without ghosts. Every house that I've lived in
Just like Steph.
has had some kind of paranormal activity. And we had actually done a Spooky South Coast Bridgewater Triangle Special Edition.
Oh,
We
yes,
do it every
yeah,
year.
yeah. I've been part of
And
that.
We actually, Tim Weisberg wanted to change things up that year. We usually go to Anawan Rock.
Mm-hmm.
We really have a close connection with the Wampanoag spirits around here.
Okay.
We have a lot of love for them, a lot of respect. But he wanted to put us over at Profile Rock because he was hoping maybe we would attract a Metacomet, which is King Philip. It's said that he used to go there and meditate, that the profile looks very much like his father, Massasoit, and that was a very spiritual place for him. So we did go there, you know, hoping we would catch up with the Wampanoag spirits again, and we didn't. We had the cult murders there. We recorded an EVP that night that said, "You will serve Satan,"
Oh,
in a
wow.
female's voice. We have Carl Drew. You know, those are definitely things. Carl Drew was supposedly the ringleader of the cult that killed 3 women out there in the
Oh, that's
late
horrific.
70s, early 80s. So it was probably about a month after the investigation in Profile Rock that I started noticing the activity in my home, and my son, his girlfriend were experiencing it.
What type of activities were they? Noises or things
There
being
are a
misplaced?
lot of
or?
different things. This guy, he seemed to have a thing for my son's girlfriend, Kara, and she wasn't raised on the paranormal. My poor kids, unfortunately, had to grow up in the same house with their mother, and they did experience a lot of paranormal activity in the home. And I'm an open person. I tried to help them through it, and I hope they appreciate having, you know, something that I
Right,
didn't
right.
have. It was really important for me to give that to them so that they weren't scared and didn't come screaming and jumping
Right.
in my bed at night
Right.
anymore. And he was a little more calm about it. But this thing would actually appear. He was a tall, dark man is how he would appear. He would throw things around the house. There were noises, you know, it always sounded like there was something in the kitchen. My son did actually, he pulled out his cell phone one night because he heard noises and he started taking pictures in the kitchen. There is an apparition in there that looks so solid, he looks like he's a living person.
Wow.
And I did do some recording in the house, and he claimed that I was his, and that I actually heard audibly. I was recording, and I wanted this thing out. I was trying to push it out, and I heard it say this, which I was trying to kick the thing out of my
Right,
house.
right.
Get out, you're not welcome here. You know, only love and light is allowed in this house, that kind of thing. And I thought it said fine. You know, that's what it sounded
Right.
like. But when I did review that audio, it was definitely
Something
your
else.
mind.
Yeah.
You know, but I also do have some good spirits, you know, and I think they've actually been with me since I was a little girl, because the paranormal was confusing for me, and I kind of almost think they've been supporting me all my life without my knowledge, because to me as a child, anything that was paranormal, ghost, whatever, it was bad. It was going to attack you. It was going to scare you. So it took me a long time to figure out that there could actually be spirits that were positive and cared and weren't trying
Right.
to scare the crap out of you.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think,
So-
on a personal level, do you think that these spirits are maybe past loved ones that are watching out for you?
It's a possibility. They could even be something from a past life. I have a past life memory, and the weird thing about it is that I drove by the school that the past life memory actually
Oh,
took
wow.
place at, and no one would believe me, and I think that's why I never got over it. I don't know if you've read any of the, what was her name? Carol Bowman, I believe. She was actually Ian Stevenson's assistant, and he did like thousands of case studies on children with past life memories, and a lot of the times these memories were worked out with the children, and they totally forgot them, lived a normal life. And I think the only reason why I never forgot it was just because I wasn't given that opportunity to say, hey, you know, oh, it's just a past life memory, don't worry about it. You know, people would tell me, no, that's not possible. So, the little rebel
Right.
that I am was saying, oh, yes, it is. I know I remember this.
Yep.
You can't take a memory out of someone's head and rip it up
Exactly.
into pieces and throw it away. It's there. So,
Exactly.
they could be this life, another life, or I actually think one of the spirits, Rita, just attached to me because I look a little like her. I did like a meditation, and I saw some
Meditation.
events in her life, which I don't do it a lot. I'm still, I think I'm on the fence a little
Right,
bit
right.
because as the founder of a team, I want to be credible. I want people to say she's careful with how she brings in evidence.
Right.
She tries to keep up with science. I don't want them to say, "Oh, this is one of those psychic
Right.
freaks," because you grew up with
We
this,
deal
and
with it.
people
Mhm.
look at you differently. So somewhere along the line, I guess there will be a happy medium. But
You're
where
looking at her?
Rita's
No.
concerned, Rita, I believe actually died because she tried to have an abortion and actually bled to death in her own bathroom. And I don't know if that's what made her stay here, if she was maybe geographically close to where I grew up, or how she latched on to me. But she was redheaded, she was blue-eyed, she was
Right.
so beautiful too. It's such a shame. And I think maybe that guilt of,
Could have.
killing her own baby might have made her latch on to me like a child, because she protects me. If I
Right.
cry, she strokes my hair. I can't help but love her. She's like a person to me.
Now, if you guys are just tuning in, I have Luann Joly on, and she is the author of Dead Whispers. And if you have any questions, definitely get into the chat room. I don't know, I see Steph typing. But every time she types feverishly, I'm always thinking, is there questions or no? She's just going back and forth. Okay.
That is my job, to talk to the people in the chat room. It'd
I
be
know.
rude of me not to.
Oh, no,
so.
that's fine. Just let me know if there's
Yeah,
questions.
there's usually a good crew in
Yeah.
the chat room too.
Good.
There's people here, but we're just talking. So
Oh, okay, good.
keep going.
I'm just nosy. I like to know, obviously, me, little Miss Control Freak. But I do want to ask you a question on a personal level. I know you had mentioned love and light, and I always deal with the love and light as well. Now, do you ever do a power protection before you go into maybe a place that would be even considered
We all
highly
do
active?
have our protections. I figured out with this whole negative entity thing that was in my house last time that my greatest protection is my love and those ghosts that are around. They helped me to get rid of that thing.
So when
all
you-
I had to do was ask.
Okay.
So when I go out, I let them protect me now.
Okay, so you talk to the spirits that you're comfortable with, and you
Yeah.
ask them for protection and
Yeah.
love. Okay.
And
'Cause
each of the
everybody's
team
different.
members
Yeah.
actually does have their own faith. And it's good because we're almost like sisters. We're like a family. And I think that, for one, it helps us bring good evidence, because I feel we have like the trust with the spirits, because they can feel we love each other, that we're there for each other, and that we also care about them too, because some of these spirits we've been investigating for years, and we call them by name, and they call us by name, of course.
Right.
And I think it makes a difference, because each time we get a little bit more, because you know what it's like in the paranormal. You get little pieces and little blurbs.
Right, it's never
and-
what you see on TV,
no,
guys.
no.
Sorry.
I wish it
Yeah.
were that simple, but
Now, I
I
think-
think the heart goes a long way in the field.
It's true, and what I always talk about is, I always repeat myself on the show, but it's setting your intentions. It's the same thing. When you're
Yeah.
going to a highly active house, you need to set your intentions
Definitely.
on what you want out of it. What are you trying to gain? What's your personal gain? Is it a personal gain, or is it something that, I think a lot of times, I know Steph and I get called in to do walkthroughs in residential houses where people are still living in, and we're there pretty much just to give the validation that there is someone there, and
Well,
who
that's
it could be.
important, though.
And yeah, but we don't just leave and say, "Oh, see you later." We just had this long conversation, but now it's
You'll see the
done.
stuff we
Yeah.
got out of your house on TV, but
Exactly.
you won't see us again.
Exactly. Now, you've been the founder of Whaling City Ghosts, and did you guys start in 2004? Is that
Yes.
right? 2004. Because I think the first time I met you guys, and I could be wrong, but I think it was Para Night 2010. Were you guys there? Water Street.
Did we go to that? I don't think we
I know
went
that
to
was Steph.
What? Paranight?
Paranight 2010.
I was
think
there, yeah.
that's where I met you the first
No.
time.
That's not true.
Was it before that?
Yep.
Where?
Collective Souls we met long before that.
I don't remember the first time I went into Collective Souls.
The
It was
first
a while
psychic
ago.
fair you did, but
February 2010 was the first time I met Lisa Fernandez. And then, yeah.
Yep, so
Paranight was in
Paranight wasn't
October, so it
till
was,
October,
yeah, so it was
so-
in between. That's right. That's right. Sorry. Just
Time
a mind.
flies, doesn't
Yeah, I
it?
had to
It's
really think
crazy
about
when
it.
you
Yeah.
start thinking about it, it's like, wow.
Wait a minute, I got it. I
It's
got
been
it.
that long.
Exactly.
We're getting old.
Exactly. I love the Paranights and all those legend trips because it reminds me of the fall, and the fall reminds me of hot cider. And
Ooh, sounds good.
hot cider
I've
and
actually
hot
been
coffee.
craving some
and-
hot cider lately. And they've already
It's
got
so
the
good.
pumpkin spice coffee up at Dunkin' Donuts.
I
and all
already
that,
have all my
so-
fall decorations out, and my apple cider candles and the apple orchards down the street from me are already open. So
Are
to
they
me,
really?
it's
Wow.
fall.
Yeah.
I don't care. Labor Day's this upcoming weekend, and I'm completely okay with being a week ahead because I love fall and I
Better
love the
hurry
smell
up
of
I
and
do
apple
get to the
cider.
beach before it's over.
Yeah,
One
I was
last
thinking about
time.
maybe trying to go this weekend. We'll see. I don't know if it's gonna be too crazy, like crowded.
Yeah, it might be crazy.
I'm not
this
one for like
weekend.
crowds,
No,
believe it or
I'm
not.
not either. Much rather be alone in a room with a recorder and a bunch
Exactly.
of ghosts and
Exactly.
goblins.
So now you guys are an all-female group.
We
and now do you just go primarily in the New Bedford and the South Coast area of Massachusetts, or?
We are
Do you
pretty
travel?
much based down here. We have traveled. Most of it has been, for our own kind of enjoyment, I guess
Right,
you'd say,
right.
like the Salem trip that we did. I think that was 2007 also. It's either 2007 or 8. See, senility.
Right.
But, we do mostly stick around here to home. And that's basically where a lot of our clients are. But like I say, a lot of our clients are repeat clients. And I think that's important, though, too, because people
Well, you're building a relationship.
don't realize it. Living in a house where things are going on that you don't really understand can be really hard, Even me as a paranormal investigator, when something's in my house that's whipping things around, it kind of sets you off, I
Right.
know what's going on, I know what to do, but most people don't,
Right.
So being there for them and having a good relationship with them, at the same time trying to educate them.
Exactly.
Most of the
Exactly.
clients, they come from, being either really frightened about what's going on or questioning their own sanity to, they're much more comfortable. They actually enjoy going over their evidence now and learning the history about their
Right.
ghosts. And one thing that I like people to know is that you actually do have some control of what's going on in your environment. Communicate with your ghosts, because that was something that changed things a lot for me, was when I learned that I could tell them, hey, this is the rules of the house and this is the way it goes. Don't take my stuff and hide it on me.
Right.
Don't turn the lights on and off when I'm reading, like those
Well,
kind
that's
of
one of the reasons why I
rules.
asked you about the Sarah Marie Cornell is because it's true. And I always, when I do my readings, I'm always talking about, because people always ask me, like, oh, can you ask them if, then they have a question, and I say, well, you can ask them too. They hear you too. So that was one of the reasons why I asked you if you tried to have a EVP session with Sarah Marie Cornell,
We're gonna
because,
try.
even though Luann isn't related, you hold a special place in your heart for her, and you've been there numerous times. So you guys out there would be very surprised on the information, whether you're using a recorder or even just the gut feelings and the images sometimes, because whenever I do a reading, I always get images in my mind. So that's when you really have to go with your gut, because sometimes it might not be on a recording device. It just might be
That's
something
right.
that's intuitive that comes to you, where you're like, wait a minute.
lot of times that's
I
how
get
we
it now.
got the really excellent evidence, is because we went with the gut.
Right.
And we do have structure. There's, specific things that we like to do, but I also like to be open enough that if somebody is getting one of those gut feelings,
Right.
go for it. Go do what it is that you feel. There's usually some kind of, response to that. So,
Right, exactly.
which it's funny because people thought that like I set out to start an all-female team, and that's really not the truth. It just sort of happened that way.
Well, sometimes it's some of your really good friends that you're very like-minded, that you have that are like-minded, and it doesn't surprise me that it's an all-girl team.
Well, it's funny because I really didn't, other than Sue, I really didn't know any of the people on the team beforehand.
Who are the members?
There's Gabby Lawson, and she is actually our head of scientific research. Crystal Washington, she is our lead investigator. Debbie White-Piva does all the historical research for us. And we just added on Sue, who I actually grew up with, who was one of those people who was having the paranormal occur and never told me. We grew up together, and this was like a deep, dark secret that we wouldn't tell anyone, like to the point where we didn't tell our best friends. So she is actually the team psychic, and she's going for a psychological degree.
Excellent.
So that for me that's more psychic research to me, because that is a big part of the puzzle pieces I'm trying to fit together, because it's not just the ghosts, it's the psychic abilities that people have and these past life memories, and somehow I think it all fits in together.
Right, well, whether it's the emotional aspect of it, because sometimes people are just so set on getting the evidential validation, it's almost connecting you to the emotional aspect, and using a medium, you are able to use the tools by using them, by them maybe being able to give you how they were feeling, or what, why they did the things that they did, not just, Abby Linwood died in 1848, and there's more to that than just the straight up facts.
Definitely, because there's something to me that was severe enough to make them stay here. Because I really think they have a choice to cross over, but whatever it is so, it's all of their being now. That is the only thing they're focused on. Because I've noticed a lot of like the ghosts that are aware, a lot of them say the same things over and over and over again, or it's toned on that.
Now, would you consider that to be something that would be residual, or?
Sometimes I believe that it is residual. Like what I hope for Sarah Cornell is those screams are residual, and maybe the man, I wouldn't mind seeing him be stuck here and have to play it over and over, because he wasn't a very nice man, but that to me may have been a residual. But most of the ghosts that I like to return to are very aware. They answer questions. There's one EVP in the book that, it blew me away when I heard it. We were actually in a private home in Dartmouth, and it's one of our real active houses. And there's actually even a new spirit in the place too, but he's a whole nother story. But everyone was kind of taking a break and looking at this map. It was an older map from like the 1800s of the area. And they were kind of discussing their own thing, and I really felt like there was someone behind me, and it felt like one of the little girls. There's 3 or 4 little girls in the house, ghost girls. And I sat there and I had my recorder, and I kept asking questions, and towards the end I said, "Can you say hello?" And right away, "Hello, little girl." And I said, "Can you say hello, Tara?" Right away, "Hello, Tiara." And she doesn't even pronounce it right. She's so little. And, that's the kind of stuff like, that's got to be an aware spirit, because how could you possibly answer me back like so quickly like that if you don't know what I said to you?
Well, I think that's one of the good things about having your book, is not only do you go into detail about the locations and, your personal experiences, you also have the CD that goes along with it. So you guys at home, when you buy the book, you can actually listen to the CDs and actually hear what Luann got for evidence, and or what she could actually pick up. So
that was it's funny because when I actually wrote Dead Whispers, I really wanted the story to go around the EVPs. And then I sent it out to a couple publishers. They both jumped on the idea. I was so excited about that because it doesn't really happen. Publishing is a dog-eat-dog business.
Right.
One didn't think that they could handle the CD part, so they dropped out, and Schiffer kept it. And then halfway through the contracting, they said, well, we don't really think we want to do the audio CD. And I was like, oh, there you go. And all the rewriting, because it was basically told around the EVPs and what was happening. And, you know, each story kind of has the little history and what we're doing as investigators. And then last minute they told me, well, you know what, the boss likes the CD
Changed
idea.
their minds.
So then it was, oh boy, pull all this EVP back in here and get going again. And it's terrible. I had a lot more EVPs, but come to find out you can only fit 99 files on a CD nowadays. So I did actually have to cut back. There's
So wait, you have 99
96 EVPs on there.
Oh my gosh.
And that's nothing. I have hard drives filled with EVP. That seems to be my strong point. And I thought I was going to be a photographer.
Right.
And I think I've caught 2 apparition pictures in my life, but the EVPs are just, you know. But
now, have you ever?
that's the thing. Put a bunch of ghost magnets in the field. The ghosts are going to come. We attract them. I don't know if we're actually catalysts that helped cause the situation or the conditions to help these ghosts manifest, or if it's still just that attraction thing. You know, oh, ghost magnets, we're coming, here we are. And there's 5 of us on the team. So what I was before by myself as a ghost magnet, who always had ghosts coming in and out, is amplified with my team, you know. And a lot of times that's why other teams ask us to come, you know. And a lot of times you have female spirits that are a little more delicate, a little more hurt. You know, we have murder victims and stuff a lot of times. And, you know, so in that case, a lot of times a team that is a male team will ask us to come in and try to be a little more gentle with these female spirits. So even if I didn't intentionally do the whole we're an all-female team, it fits, it works. So I'm happy with it. I love my team.
See, and that's all. And
yep.
we always talk about it too. I know Steph and I work a lot together, whether we're working with this team or that team or another team. Like we work with anybody, but we really are selective with who we work with, and we really enjoy the people that we do work with.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. I think in this kind of field you should be close, because there are dangers. There are
people
entities that are not exactly human, and you need that tight bond. That to me is protection too.
Exactly.
Right. I'm going to interrupt you for a couple questions because I don't have pen and paper, so I can't write them down.
Oh, we don't have pen and paper?
No, we don't. It must have, something paranormal must have happened and it must have disappeared.
It must have.
What is your feeling about passing over spirits at a haunting?
That's a tough one, because I do agree that spirits can be passed over or crossed over, however you want to look at it, but I also kind of feel like that's a free will thing. And, you know, you can try to help a spirit cross over, and if it's not ready to go, it's just not going to go anywhere. Oh. We have pen and paper now.
Suddenly it's returned.
That was a solid apparition. I wish I had the camera.
Kind of scary. Of course, all the cameras are pointing that way, right? The next question I do have is, can we try to record EVPs with our phones, or does it need to be a tape recorder?
I guess you could record with your phone. I've never actually tried it. I wouldn't even begin to know what kind of quality you would get out of a phone. I'd say it's possible, but I don't think you'd get the greatest quality. And that's another problem too. If you're putting evidence out there that's lower quality, you're not giving the skeptics anything to hold on to. They want to tear things into pieces, as we know. So I would say probably look into digital recording.
They're not very expensive either. Anybody at home You go to Radio Shack.
Yeah,
I think the cheapest one is like $20, $30,
yeah.
and it's better quality than
Oh,
a cell
definitely.
phone. So, the third question I do have is, have you ever been hurt by a spirit on an investigation or bothered?
I've been burned in the face by a spirit in Lizzie Borden's house. With the entity that I had, that haunting actually lasted 22 years, my own personal haunt that I had as a child, just because it took me that long to figure out how to help myself, basically. And that spirit did hurt me on several occasions. I was a small child a few times. And later on as an adult, I was trying to protect my baby. And when it came into the bed, the only thing I could think of was protecting my baby. And I tried to fend it off physically, which is kind of a stupid thing. And it wrenched my arm back so hard that I actually went to the emergency room the next day and had torn tendons in my shoulder.
Oh, wow.
So that one was powerful. When I was really small, one of the first attacks, I thought I was being real smart and pretending that I was still asleep and I was going to bolt out the door and get away. And I waited and waited, and I thought I was faking so well, even, smacking, fake snoring and everything. And I tried to bolt, and it was like this thing clotheslined me and just knocked the wind out of me and threw me back on the bed. I mean, I probably weighed 50 pounds at the time, but, it actually literally picked me up and threw me down. So, yes, I have been hurt.
That is all the questions I have for right now.
Well, I have a question as far as, now, do you see them as if they're standing in front of you?
Sometimes I do. And that's why part of the research is medical, because I do believe that a birth defect that I was born with is part of my magnetism problem, because I actually believe if I hit the right nerve, I have different skills. I do have precognitive dreams that I don't seem to have any control over, but I've had things like waking visions. I've seen other people's lives going through my own head. And the only reason that I knew that it was someone else's life was because I actually knew the person and was able to verify. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know what those pictures were. But I do think that as I've studied these kind of phenomena, a lot of these people have illnesses, medical problems, MS, fibromyalgia. Some of them are actually mental illnesses too. And I kind of disagree with the fact that the paranormal field discounts people with these illnesses, but they don't realize it's a huge opening. My mom had bipolar, and I was an innocent little child who never really had a chance to do anything wrong yet by that point. And I had this nasty negative entity haunt. I really believe that it helped it find me by the fact that my mother had this illness. And there's so many other things, spinal injuries. My own psychic team member, her psychic abilities after a car accident where she injured her spine, suddenly her abilities had amplified, to the point where she was like, whoa, wait a minute, am I going crazy?
Well, I think you always hear that. Like a
know,
lot of people say if they've had a near-death experience, it definitely amplifies it up. And
I had one, and I think it's about the same for me.
Really, yeah. Luckily, I never have. I mean, I've been through some things, but never.
Yeah, it's strange because I really, it was a long time before I actually knew that was a near-death experience. I don't know if you know Ron O'Berry.
Yes.
He was actually the person that was recommended to me when I finally said, enough is enough, this thing is attacking my kids now. I can't protect them. I wanted help. I figured someone could come and wave a magic wand over my head.
Right.
And it would go away, and it would be sunshine and birds, and, and he came and he did a little bit of work with me, and he said, you can do this on your own. Your body, mind, spirit, you're stronger than this thing. And I did actually work on it. I guess you could call it shamanistic or Native American kind of thing. It was, what was that? Rainbow Medicine, I believe, by Wolf Moon Dance.
I'll have to look into that. Have you heard
it's
of
a
that
beautiful
stuff? No.
program. A lot of it was actually doing things like I made a medicine wheel, and what it really was healing me. So there were a lot of issues. I was terrified of that thing, you know. So to actually face it and tell it to get out, that it had no more power over me,
Right.
that I'm banishing you, that took a lot of, you know, putting yourself together, because the fear of it is self-defeating.
Right.
You know, as long as I'm afraid of this thing, it has that much more power
Right.
over me. So that was part of the beginning of the end, was preparing for this, and that was part of like what kind of woke me up, you know, and to look at what brought it in. You know, I didn't do anything. I wasn't out there having satanic rituals,
Right,
conjuring these things. You know, I never know, maybe one of my older sisters played with the Ouija board. I don't know any of those kind of facts, but it almost seemed like there was no reason for it.
Well, I always
know?
feel like, too, a lot of times spirit tends to connect, or even when you're dealing with something a little bit more active, there's always something, whether it's at home or something going on in your life that may not, like you had mentioned, like someone that may have a disability, or someone mentally may be going through some issues of some sort of dysfunction. You know, I feel like that's almost a prime time for
Yeah,
something
definitely.
to come in.
And think about that, though, because the way I'm looking at things, it's a bigger picture.
Mhm.
You know, we've got string theory now.
Right.
Everything is part of everything. So you've got all these little strings everywhere, and we're connected to them. So if either you're, say, ill or injured, aren't you sending out a different frequency than a person who's healthy? Or even when you're sad, you've got that aura around you, like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
boo,
what
boo, hoo, I'm
yeah.
sad right now. And that, I really think other things can feel it.
Power of
you
intent,
know,
my
because
friend.
we're connected to everything else. And exactly.
It's true, and we're not perfect. I mean, I can sit here and tell you guys power of intent, but I mean, even
It's
myself,
hard.
there's some. I mean, on the car ride here, I'm on the phone with Steph, like, la 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 la, you know, like just with anxiety. I mean, it happens to the best of us. It's not. I'm not going to say like my life is wonderful and
Oh,
you know
don't
power of
we
intent. I
wish?
mean, it does. It happens to the best of us, and it's true. Like if I can tell you, I've experienced where I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed and I'm like, well, this wasn't done, or I didn't have time to get gas today, or just something
That's when you got to turn on your favorite song
exactly,
and let it go.
exactly. And that's what you just said it right there. Sometimes you just have to learn to let things go. Set your boundaries and let things go. I know it's so much easier said than done.
Because it's funny, I do
But-
think a lot of the things that we have around us in life, we attracted in with our own attitudes.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I
so
agree with you. I do
we
agree
can
with
have,
you.
you know, we can have a lot worse, and
Right.
that's something that people don't really think about a lot. You know, you could have it a lot worse. You could have been born in some third world country. You're starving. You're crawling through the, you know,
Yep.
through the garbage looking for food, and we've got it made over here
Right.
in America.
Right.
And so many things at our fingertips, and I hope, like, as things go along and other fields start coming into the
I think it
paranormal.
has.
Because I drag every doctor I see
Right.
into this.
Right.
Because that's where I think, for at least the ghost magnet type, that we could learn to control it a little bit more. You know, if we had what we need. And, you know, some of us really can't help that. For me, I can't say that I only attract positive ghosts. I would like it to be like that. Every now and then I do somehow attract a negative. I don't have a switch to
Right. Well, I mean,
plus
I
or
think
negative.
the
so
best way to handle that is, you know, again, like setting your intentions and doing a power protection if you believe it. And like you said, your girls do different things that help them feel comfortable. So whether it's, and I always talk about it too, whether it's a daily affirmation or prayer or crystals or turkey feathers, I don't know.
No. Oh, I have some
you
in my
know.
house.
Exactly, see? I
got
knew.
baby turkeys in the backyard too.
I
They're so
heard,
cute.
I
They're
know.
this big.
So, I mean, whatever makes you feel comfortable, I think that definitely helps, especially if you feel like you're almost being victimized. Like you said, some of the people that you deal with aren't that knowledgeable about this sort of thing. And even though spirit may be just trying to communicate with them, it's scaring them, you know? So, so for those of you that are nervous, doing a daily affirmation, power of protection, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with, can help alleviate that sense of fear and anxiety. Because that's what anxiety basically is fear.
It really is. You know, and the funny thing is like, people can be any religion and have whatever it is that makes them feel comfortable. You don't have to do, you know, some people are very set on what they feel is proper protection or isn't proper protection. But
it's what you
to me,
feel comfortable
exactly,
with, not what
it's each individual.
Billy and blah,
Billy
blah, blah.
Bob.
Yeah.
Billy
whatever
Bob's rent-a-demon or whatever.
Exactly.
Rent-a-demonologist.
No.
Because it is true that there are so many teams nowadays that you literally are tripping over them. Like I said.
Right. And you just have to be careful because there's, again, so many of them. It's like,
with their puff paint T-shirts.
although I love playing with puff paint.
Me too.
I think we should do puff paint.
Definitely.
Spirit connection stuff. Maybe like
sounds
a cape.
good.
A cape or a
cloak,
snuggie. A
maybe?
cloak.
But we can go that
Before King Richard's Fair, we can pull it together.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right
neon.
around the corner too.
I know.
Summer went by so fast.
And the chowder bowls.
Crazy. Oh,
Like the
yum. Yeah.
So
Oh, you're
good.
making
Candy
me
apples.
hungry.
I know.
I'm starving.
I know. Start
You're
talking
just
about
doing this
food
to me
before the show.
all-
I know. All I can think
How
about
long?
is like,
Or be hitting
food.
McDonald's on the way home because
I'm hitting
there's
something
nothing
on the way
else.
home.
I was just saying too to my family this past weekend, I'm like, because everybody's excited the Patriots to start and everything, and I said, you know what? To be honest, I'm not really into football. Like, I'll be there while there's a game on, but I go for the social portion and I go for the food.
And the
like that's
food.
what it is. It's all about the food. Like I know maybe like a couple of them, and you know, like I do get happy when we score a touchdown, field goal, but yeah, you know what? I really just like being there for the food and the social aspect of it.
Definitely.
The food, of course.
The
raccoon.
food. As you
food.
know, I keep on putting that first. Like
Yes.
the food and everything else.
And the food.
Yeah,
And
and,
then-
the food.
then maybe
And
some
I can
football.
wear sweatpants all day.
No.
Oh, and
With
I
the
can't
team
wait to wear
jersey
it. Yeah,
on.
yeah. See, I'm supporting.
Yeah, definitely.
You know.
One more question before we go. They would like to know if someone is very ill, can they attract more spirits?
It's possible. One of the clients that we're working with right now has a terminal illness, and unfortunately the spirits are driving him nuts, this poor man. And we're hoping that a little more communication with these spirits, maybe we can settle things down for him. The team psychic actually kind of feels like he's almost in both worlds right now, because he's very close.
He could be. Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're just inundating him.
Right.
You know.
Well, I mean, it's known that a lot of times spirit will, whenever I do readings, sometimes they'll bring up someone who's still alive, but they may need a little extra TLC. That's how I like to put it. Like whether it's emotional or physical, very close to, you know. So I agree. Yep. Yep.
It's funny how a family almost changes a little bit, because, like, say they've never had any paranormal activity, then they move into this home, and it's almost like the whole family goes on alert.
Right.
You know, so it can be tough, you know, and depending on the spirit, sometimes it makes the whole family fight, or they're all, you know, they don't know if they want to even talk to each other about it, because, oh, this one's going to think I'm crazy.
It's a delicate
you know,
situation.
It can be.
So Luann, a.k.a. A.E. Angel, which is your author name,
That's right.
how can people at home find you?
All over the place.
Okay.
I'm everywhere lately. Actually, they can find me on Facebook. We have a Wheeling City Ghost page, Wheeling City Ghost Facebook page. We also have a Dead Whispers page, and you can find us at www.wheelingcityghost.net. And we're actually under construction right now. But we're hoping to add in a lot of new pictures and
Great.
some new material, and we do have one page like dedicated to Dead Whispers. So some of the EVP that didn't make that final cut will be on there. And I was a little disappointed about how the apparition pictures printed.
I know
They
sometimes
look
it can
terrible in the book, at least as far as I can tell right now. So I'm hoping to put those up there too so people can see them a little more
be
clearly.
good.
And
Good.
we just started a forum, so we're hoping to be interactive. And
So you want to go to whalingcityghost.com for all that information.
.net.
.net.
Sorry.
Yep, that's
See, because
okay.
I'm not wearing my glasses and I was trying to read it off the prompter and I. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't even know you
.net.
had a prompter.
See? Yeah.
I had
Well, no,
lines
it's not
and
a
I
prompter.
totally
It's
went
It's not a
off
prompter.
script.
Yeah, it's not a prompter. It's just when Warren, who does such a fabulous job here on Spirit Connections, and the rest of the crew, thank you very much to making this and every other week such a pleasure to be with. They always put things up. What you guys can see, the website, that's what I was trying to read, and I have my glasses on. But thank you guys very much. You will get your Snuggies at Christmas, I promise you. I promise you. So speaking of Christmas, your book's going to be out at the beginning of November, so just in time for Christmas and the holidays.
Just in time for all
So-
those paranormal enthusiasts Christmas stockings.
Exactly. I
They'll
love
be filled
giving
with Dead
paranormal
Whispers
books.
everywhere.
Yep.
Oh, I do too. I love it. That's funny because most of my friends do buy me paranormal books for,
I love it.
you know, gifts, birthdays, that kind of thing.
So definitely stay in touch with Luann Joly, AE Angel, at whalingcityghost.net. And you'll be posting your times as when you're going to be doing your lectures or
Oh,
doing book
definitely.
signings once the book comes out.
Yep, definitely. Like to
Excellent.
keep y'all informed.
Good, good, good.
It's a good thing.
And if you guys missed anything, you can go to my Spirit Medium Tiffany page on Facebook and, of course, tiffanyrice.com. And next week, new time, 7 p.m. I'm so excited.
It's like you're falling
7 p.m.
back too.
Yes. Yes,
That's a
well, the
good
older
thing.
I get, I have to just go earlier and earlier.
Earlier and
'cause I
earlier.
can't stay up later and later anymore. So we're going to do 7 p.m. September 4th. Thank you, Luann, for joining us. And
Thanks for having me.
you're very welcome. And thank you guys for tuning in. And make sure you have a nice and safe Labor Day weekend. Eat plenty of hot dogs and enjoy. All right, guys. Well, we will see you September 4th. We're going to have Black Cross Paranormal on, and we will see you next week. Have a good night. Good night. Good night.